numbers and calls now, whichever get up. Light up my card with a sweet one bliss. Someone flicks me a back by the end. So, it's another one. It's another one, yeah. It's a full strong, yeah. Oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah.
Good evening, guys, and welcome to Crossroads in Boxing. Special night tonight, guys, because it's number 25. You with myself, CJ Spate, and my main man, Eric ERF. Ez, how are we doing, pal? Are you okay?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. We've got a decent fight card this weekend. Some young talent on there. And Jack Cattrall versus Harlem Eubank. So a lot to speak about. And a few other things after the fight card as well, what we'll get through. But before we start, as usual, we'll go to our promo for D-Rock Clothing with your 40% off.
And we're back.
We are.
Comments as well as we've got comments queuing already. Big up, Trey. Thank you, brother. Without you, this is not possible, mate. So thank you always.
Libster, right straight in there with a happy 25th anniversary. We appreciate it.
It's very special, Libs. Very special.
Yeah, that's for all of us, by the way, including you, Libster, because you're here every week. So, looking fresh through this. And happy 25th show. Thanks for the comment straight away. So we'll get straight into it. We've got at Manchester, we've got the fight card, Harlem Eubank versus Jack Cattrall. It's a bit of a crossroads fight for both, ironically. Jack Cattrall, obviously, coming off a loss to Barboza, wanting to get straight back in there. It's a tough fight against a guy coming up in Eubank who's ready to prove himself. So it is a crossroads fight for both guys. Both guys at the other end of the spectrum. One's a prospect looking to prove himself. The other one is a seasoned fighter who is ready to prove that he is that fighter and he isn't ready to finish. But before we get on to breaking down that fight and what we think about that fight, we'll start with the undercard. Which fighters have you got first? Which fight have you got first now?
Well, because you guys have met him, interviewed him, and obviously he's a local lad to us, Leo Watang. I think that's a pretty important fight on the undercard. On screen there, that says with Big Leo. Believe me when I say Eric and Ricky aren't 5'2". Leo is just a big lad. But yeah, Leo from York, impressive amateur career. He's got some power. Fingers crossed. He puts York on the map, puts Yorkshire on the map. I always get very excited with heavyweights. Don't let Eric tell you that I have a jinx, because it isn't true. Listen to my words. No, it is really exciting though. He's a big, strong lad, and hopefully he has a good career.
Yeah, the kid is massive. I'm not kidding you. Like Ricky had seen him and he's like, "Oh, Leo's over there. Shall I go ask him for an interview?" And it's like, "Yeah, go for it." I was interviewing, I think, Louis Sylvester at the time. I was interviewing someone at the time, and he came back with Leo and went to interview him. And unfortunately, the audio on the interview, we have got it on Facebook. We have posted it on Facebook, but the audio isn't great. So we are in contact with his management team to get an interview with him on this channel, a live special interview, hopefully after this weekend, once he gets that win. We're looking to get an interview with him. But the kid is huge. I looked at him and I was like, "How tall are you?" So, I was like, you are huge, but exciting prospect. Very excited about him. Like you said, CJ's amateur career, a very good amateur career. He has that look. I saw a video of him meeting AJ for the first time at the Matchroom relaunch, and he looked the part. It was him, Frank Bruno, AJ there, basically the past, the present, and the future of Matchroom boxing. So hopefully he can have a good debut, come out there, excite, show what talent he's got. CJ's smiling because
I want it on record now, guys, that if all goes wrong, this is Ez's fault. Nothing to do with me. Okay?
CJ's smiling. Like, I'm jinxing it now. I believe this kid is hungry. Interviewing him, when Ricky was interviewing him, the questions he was asking, how he answered it. He's a hungry young lad who wants to prove himself, and he's got that backing from Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, which for me, as a heavyweight prospect, that's exactly where you want to be. With Eddie, he's going to push you. He's going to give you every opportunity to be great, and you've got an icon in AJ's career who you can look at and see, if I do this right and take these fights, entertain and do what I'm supposed to do, I can get to that level, and it's a perfect role model to have for me. So good luck to him on his debut. Hopefully he goes through it with flying colours, and we can get him on the channel for that interview.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. CJ.
Hi guys, love you all. Can't wait for the Pat Brown fight this weekend. Eek, sorry, CJ, love you. Yeah, my mum, she's got a bit of a crush on Pat Brown. So.
Oh really? Oh, seeing as you now you said that, I've actually met Pat. We'll go on to Pat's fight next.
She'll love that, mate. She'll absolutely love that. Pat's a good prospect, definitely. Am I right? He's with Jamie Moore.
He is with Jamie Moore, yeah.
So he'll be spending a lot of time with them, and obviously in the ring with like the likes of Dave Allen for his heavier sparring and things. So he's in very good hands, and I know they've got a lot riding on him. Really, I do think he's tipped to be fast tracked as well, to be something special. Rick's just shot. Ricky is shot.
Yeah, man, this is, oh my God, I'm jealous. Yeah, it's pretty cool, to be fair. I literally, as we got there, he was stood talking to Dave Allen, and he was walking off, and he'd walked past me, so I was like, oh. So I just asked him if I could get a quick picture. But yeah, Pat back out again. I think he only fought last month, was it? Beginning of last month and the month before. Out again pretty quickly, which I like to see, especially with prospects, heavyweights as well. When you're young in the game, you need that activity. You need to be in there. And if you want to make your name in the game, you need to be in people's eye line. And as a heavyweight, it's the best weight to be at. If you're active as a heavyweight, you will be seen, you will be noticed. I like Pat Brown. I'm looking forward to see him step up the levels, and see what he can do once he gets onto that British scene. Because, like we always say, CJ, the British scene at the moment, there's plenty of fighters in there.
It's fire, absolute fire in the British scene.
You can make so many matchups, and they're going to be exciting fights. There'll be fights for people look forward to. There'll be, and it'll be fights that the fans will come out for as well, because there's a lot of names in the British heavyweight division.
Absolutely. If it's done properly in our domestic scene, in all weights, this is not just heavyweights. I do get excited for the heavyweights, and your cruisers and things like that. If it's done properly and you get out of the domestic level, if you beat the best in your weight in this country or in the UK, you really are a good fighter. There is no doubt about it. And even coming up short, but you've picked up some wins along the way. Again, at these domestics, you're already seasoned for me, because we have so much talent in all weights at the minute.
That's the good thing about the British rankings, is you see a lot of these guys as you get higher up in the levels, into like your champions and stuff like that at British level, people are going to take losses because you've got people who's tried to get to world level. They've moved up, they've took a loss at world level, moved back down to say British European level. So you're going to get fighters like your Dave Allen. How many times has he moved up to world level or fringe world level and got beat, and now he's back down at British level? You look at his record, and someone like obviously I know they're both in the same stable, but someone like Pat Brown, if there wasn't in the same stable, you'd think, oh, could you put Pat against Dave? Obviously not now, but those are the names you sort of looking at, and you look up there and people look at Dave's record and think, oh yeah, I reckon Pat could do him. But it's not as simple as that. They look what's just happened to Johnny Fisher. It's not as simple as these guys have got losses, so they're there for the taking. No, these guys have got losses because they've been in there and tried their arm at better fights and come up short, but yet still got a decent fan base, still fighting, still winning fights at a decent level.
Look at Chisora through his career, as you know what I mean. How many times has he stepped up, stepped down?
12, 13 losses, and always done it. Stepped up, stepped back down to British level, fight a British fighter, step back up, European level. So yeah, that's why I love the British scene. That they don't mean shit once you're a seasoned fighter. Once you get to them, especially in heavyweights, once you start getting into the fighters who are 32, 33, 34, getting on, all of them have got losses. Nobody's got O's, and they're the fighters what the young ones want to start fighting, and they're all tough fights. Nobody's screaming for Derek Chisora, and he's on his last leg. Ain't no prospects screaming for him to go fight him. So, the British heavyweight scene, I love it. There's so many matchups I'm looking forward to, and hopefully we can get. The next fight on the card, we're going to is it Fiaz?
Fiaz versus Murphy.
Fiaz versus Murphy. What do you make of that fight? Is it Alex Murphy?
Yes, it is Alex Murphy, mate. Yeah,
Alex Murphy.
Good fight for him. I think it's probably the right step up that he needs. I'd be lying if I said I know a great deal about Fiaz, because I don't. But obviously, I've seen highlights and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, Murphy's coming off a loss, a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, to Khalil Majid. Unanimous decision loss to him. I think Fiaz is only one fight removed from a loss as well. I think
so a good fight for
a
both
couple
kids,
of fights. I'm not sure. So both of them have had recently lost. Obviously, both rebuilding the careers. So it should be an exciting fight. Both men are in there for something to prove. They haven't got an O to protect. They have got a point to prove.
Would you have that down as a 50-50?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I don't know too much about either man. Looking at the records of who they fought, Fiaz obviously went up against Reece Bellotti and got stopped, and that's probably the only name really on his record. He's come back to a 6-rounder with a win. He won in 3 rounds, and then and now he's in with Alex Murphy, he's only took 1 loss in his last fight. So I don't think either of them. Both have probably fought on the similar level. Fiaz probably fighting the better fight in Reece Bellotti, but coming up short. So yeah, he's probably a 50-50 fighter now. I'm looking forward to that fight actually, because I don't know too much about either man. So it'll be good to watch and see what they've got and what kind of fight we get.
Next up, one I'm really excited for is William Crawler.
Yes.
There he is, the main man, obviously little brother of Anthony Crawler, former world champion. Anthony,
I had the pleasure of interviewing William Crawler before his last fight on a Twitter space. But he's one to look. He's very exciting. He's different to his brother. His fighting style is different to his brother's.
He's really
but
aggressive, isn't he?
Very aggressive. For someone who likes pure boxers, I kind of like that style, especially in a young fighter. In a young fighter, if that's their style and they go in there and they are all action, and the punches he puts together are lovely punches. He does know how to put his punches together with good aggression. Go on, CJ.
Lovely punches.
They are. But he is good. I am excited about him, and I expect a good performance from him. I think he went all the rounds the last time out. I think he's at the first opponent that's gone.
Second, but his first opponent was Joe Hardy. So that's no feat with that. And do you know what? This fight is a big step up for him as well. I think. I mean, he's the third fight away from this one. He boxed a lad who was 6-2, stopped him in the first round.
Yep.
And Fraser Wilkinson is 11-2, and he's going for his first 8-rounder as well. So he's making all the right moves. He isn't hanging around, if you like. And sometimes that's good. I know it's good to ease people in at times. You know, there is no need to rush. But clearly, when you've got that power, probably when you've got that experience in your team as well, he doesn't need to hang around too much, and hopefully he'll do another job this weekend.
Well,
go on, sorry, mate.
Well, this is his third time out this year already. We're 7 months in, and this will be his third fight of the year. So I expect him to be out at least one more time, if not two. And for a prospect in year this will be his second year in boxing, I think. Is it his second year in boxing?
I think so,
his third year. No, his third year in boxing. The first year he had 3 fights. Last year he had 3 fights. And this year, so far, we're 7 months in and he's had 3 fights. So hopefully he can get at least another one in. I think he will do. Eddie has plenty of cards at the moment going on. It's got a stacked. I think we're boxing at the moment from this weekend. I'm sure we've got an absolute crazy run back to back to back to back, both here and in America. So I'm sure he'll be out at least one more time this year, if not 2.
Next on the card, before we go for his co-main, as well as the comeback fight for Sky Nicholson. I don't know too much about Carla Camila Campos Gonzalez, but she's 9-3. Sky's going for an 8-rounder, 2 minutes. So I do think it's a steady build-up fight for her. Obviously, she was tipped to beat Tiara Brown, wasn't she? And came up short on a split. Before that, she was out against Raven Chapman. Who had pleasure, me and Claire went down to London, Royal Albert Hall to watch box not long since. She came up short there. Raven's tough, rough and tough, but it puts it on your chest, and obviously she came away with that one as well. So she was tipped for massive things, wasn't she, Sky, when Matchroom put her on the scene? Yeah.
Well, this is she's moving down in weight for this fight. This is her first fight at the new weight. I know she obviously lost to Tiara Brown, and I was expecting a rematch. I thought they'd go for a rematch, but they actually didn't have a rematch clause in that. Sky's come out and said that her team believes that she should really be fighting at the weight below. So instead of going that route to rebuild, they've gone down a weight, and we can see what she can do there. As her career goes, I don't know. I expected a bit more from Sky at this point. I really was looking forward to her dominating that division she was in. Her style isn't the most exciting, but she's a pure boxer, a very, very technical boxer who is good at what she does, but showed that she could get overwhelmed a little bit against a pressure fighter. what next for her? We'll see how she does. This obviously it's only an 8-rounder. There's not much you're gonna tell from this fight. I think Gonzalez is she Mexican? If I'm not mistaken. Oh no, she's not. She's Bolivia, from Bolivia. I'm expecting a come forward fighter.
Yeah.
Because that's what Sky will need. They're not going to put her in there with another boxer, pure boxer. They'll put her in there with somebody who's going to put it on her and she can style on them and possibly stop them. Well, she got 9-3, 8 knockouts. She's been stopped twice. So yeah, I expect a dominant performance from Sky. Let's see what she's got at that weight. The co-main event for that one.
Joe Cordina versus hit it, of the Welsh wizard Joe Cordina. I hope I'm pronouncing this right, mate. Against his opponent Jarrett Gonzalez Quiroz, maybe not 200% on that, so don't quote me. But he's no slouch. He's won 17 of 18, 13 by knockout. He's only been stopped himself couple of years ago, 2021. Obviously, I don't know many people on his record. Very Latin based, Mexican based, whatever you'd like to say. But Joe Cordina, obviously coming off that big stoppage, and Anthony Kakachi in the later rounds. I'm not 100% what, like 8, 9, something like that. But he looked hurt a few times, didn't he, in that fight?
He looked hurt every time he got touched, to be honest. He weight drained. He should have moved up. He said he should have moved up. He did look weight drained. You could tell that, but Anto also hits hard anyway. Irrelevant of whether you're weight drained or not. He's a big puncher. For Cordina, moving up. This opponent is I think all his fights has been in Mexico. This is his first fight outside of Mexico. The problem we've got is he's a Mexican who no one knows much about. He's got 17 wins, 13 knockouts, so he can clearly punch. And us Brits, we have a problem with punching Mexicans. We have a serious problem with fighting unknown Mexicans who can punch. Mauricio Lara comes to mind straight away. So I don't know. Hopefully Joe Cordina comes in there and shows the levels he's been at before and that he's still got it. Because before the Kakachi fight, I think he was out of the ring for a little bit as well. Before the Kakachi fight due to injury, because he was meant to fight Shakur.
I think he had about a year out, didn't he?
Yeah, he was meant to fight Shakur and he pulled out of that. Yeah, he's been out of the ring over a year since the Kakachi fight, and before that he was out of the ring. No, it wasn't too bad. 6 months against Vasquez, majority decision win. That wasn't a great performance either against Vasquez. I think, was that Monte Carlo? Yeah, it was. He headlined that. So yeah, I don't know what to. Cordina's last few performances hasn't been great. The Rakhimov one, I think he was late in the Rakhimov one, if I'm not mistaken. He won that back via split decision. Vasquez, he won via majority decision and then lost to Kakachi. So the signs kind of was there. He was struggling after that Kagawa knockout, because after the Kagawa knockout, I think he was out of the ring for nearly 12 months.
Was Kagawa was that fast stoppage, Ez? Was that when he just came out of blocks?
Yeah, boom, boom, boom. round two knockout, and he broke his hand actually in that fight. So he ended up having a year out, and then coming back, he didn't look the same, to be quite honest with you. Moving up a weight, hopefully he looks better. He looks more hydrated, looks fuller. and he can get the win over the Mexican. We've got a comment from Brian Kelso.
Like Kelso, the Mexicans don't fuck around, and the problem is you never know what you get. 100%,
Exactly.
mate. They're born into the business art of that, and that's why we bring them over, and that's why we use them, because they are tough as old boots.
Yeah.
Brian, I know I've already spoke to you earlier, by the way, mate, but I will see you Saturday, and I will be there to see Connor win. So me and Ez would love to get you and Connor on the show afterwards.
100%.
If we can get you booked in, mate, that'd be an honour to get you and Commonwealth champion on, mate.
But anything else on Cordina before we move on to the main event?
Just that he's got all the talent in the world, hasn't he? I think he's absolutely fantastic on his day, and I'd love to see him go on. I'm a big fan of Cordina. I think he's certainly at the start of his career how exciting he was. I don't think he's ever shied away either. Do you know, a lot of people have been stopped by Kakachi, haven't they, or can be stopped by Kakachi. So there's no issues with that. I think it's just that we know how good he can be, and he wasn't that good on the night or his last few performances, like you said, mate. So fingers crossed we get him back to how he was. I'd love to see him get a stoppage midway through this, so he's got a couple of rounds under his belt, and then onwards and upwards, and hopefully he gets back up there.
Yeah, Cordina, I've always liked him. I remember watching him live at the O2 Arena when he fought, was it Gavin Gwynn, in 2019, and that performance wasn't great, because I was looking forward to watching that fight, expected a lot from him. That performance wasn't a great performance, so I went away from there just like, don't know. But then after that, he just kicked it up a notch, and he showed his levels and showed how good he was. And I've always been a fan, but his last couple of performances a little bit dodgy. He did get the win. It was still, you know what I mean, they looked how they looked. And then the Kakachi one, he weight drained, he was saying, and Kakachi can punch. It's a recipe for disaster, to be quite honest with you. Hopefully he can move up now, be healthy, and get that win and get a stoppage against the Mexican, because I'm fed up of seeing our guys getting stopped by him.
Let's jump straight onto the big boy then, the main. There you go on your screen, guys. Jack Catterall versus Harlem Eubank. A lot of people really, really, really not having Harlem in the same league as Jack Catterall. And I personally don't think that's very fair. I'm a big fan of Harlem Eubank. I think he does. Don't get me wrong. His persona, he loves the Eubank persona. He enjoys being in that mix. But I do think he's quietly done his work. He isn't in the spotlight like Chris, or say like Sebastian would have been. God rest his soul. But he's beaten everyone who was there to be in front of him. Good performance against Timo Schwarzkopf from 23. And then earlier this year, beat Tyrone McKenna. It was tough. It was really, really tough, isn't he? So that proves he's got the guts, he's got the gall for it. But I'd be lying if I said it in a massive step up against Jack Catterall, who has been on the world scene, should have been world champion years ago. He's beaten the likes of Josh Taylor, Jorge Linares, Regis Prograis. They are massive, massive world names, all world champions. So what do you reckon? Obviously, he's coming off the loss from Barboza.
Yeah, for me, I was speaking to Rico about this earlier, actually, and I said to him, he said to me, "Oh, Jack's gonna smoke him. He's not cut." I said that the thing is, you've got to look at it this way. It's a tale of two. It's a tale of two, really. You've got Eubank, who's the up and comer, who's there. He's got something to prove. He's got the name. He's got the persona. He just hasn't got the accolades or the names on his resume for him to stamp, yeah, I'm on that level. Whereas Jack Catterall, he's been there for me, should have been undisputed champion. He was robbed of that. He's been on that level. I've always rated him very highly. He his performances against Regis, very good. Against Taylor, both performances, very good. Very disappointed in the Barboza performance. I was expecting a lot. I think even on our show when we were previewing it, I was saying I expect Jack to use his jab, control the range of the fight, counter punch, do everything that Jack normally does well. And he was out punched in that fight against Barboza. He looked a lot slower. His feet looked slower. Barboza was a lot quicker than him. Just outmatched in that fight, which really surprised me. It took me back a bit because I was thinking, did I overestimate what Jack is, or is Jack just slipping? Is he one of those fighters that, because he didn't get that result of the undisputed, which he deserved, has his career just one of those careers like, if he had got that undisputed, he would be in a completely different conversation right now.
Yeah.
But because he was robbed of that moment, his career is sort of, instead of going up, it's sort of gone like this. And then it for me, it's starting to, he's showing signs of going back down. I think in this fight, I'm with you. I rate Eubank. I actually think he's a lot like Chris when Chris first came up, turned pro. I think there's a hell of a lot of similarities with him from when Chris first turned pro and was at like British level sort of fighting, to how Hallam is. Very, very fast, put punches together, can punch hard, and that's what they're going. They go. It's a seek and destroy mission, with both of them. I think if Jack doesn't use his feet, if Jack can't get his jab going, he's going to have a long night and he's going to struggle. I believe boxing ability wise, Jack is levels. He's proven his levels above what Eubank's done boxing ability wise. But like I said earlier at the beginning of this, it's a crossroads. It's a proper crossroads fight where I don't want to say a veteran, the seasoned fighter has to prove that he is still at that level, and the prospect, or the contender, should I say, has to prove that he's more than just a contender and he is at that level.
For what I want to do is, if everyone tuned in, or any of our commenters that usually go in, so Trey, Libster, Mandy, Brian, if he's still there, buddy, I want to know what you think, because genuinely, I think it's been quite biased for Catrell. I understand that, don't get me wrong, but I do think anyone who's more than just your armchair fan should say that this could be a real good fight. We could have it on. So if you guys comment or listening,
it's a 50-50.
Drop us a comment, see what we want to know your views. I think it's a 50-50.
I think it's a proper 50-50 fight. To be honest with you, I don't see how anybody, looking at Jack's last performance, I understand you can look at Jack as a whole and ignore that performance, but you can't ignore a performance like that against Barboza. And then when you saw Barboza in his very next fight against Theo, he looked completely different. It was like, if that Barboza had turned up, would Jack have beat him? And I felt like, are you not stepping up to the you know what I mean, the stage of when it means that this is where you're going to get your credit? You're just coming up short now, because when you did deserve your credit, they took it away from you. Now trying to get it back, it's just like, I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like the stars are aligned for Eubank to win this, and win this emphatically. I think there's a chance that Eubank can overwhelm Jack in this fight and get it done emphatically. There's a very good chance of that. There's a very good chance of that. I think there is also a high chance of Jack being the better boxer and controlling the range, keeping Eubank on the outside, evading shots. He can do that. He's got the ability to do that. I don't know. I think Eubank might just be at that point where he's on that up, and Jack is going to struggle to get over that hill because he's took that slip.
Please gamble responsibly, but my Bill Hill account, I will be going for Alan Eubank, guys. If anyone's wondering, I sometimes get some texts on fight night, people asking me. So yeah, I will be going for Alan Eubank. But yeah, please gamble responsibly. So we've rounded up that show pretty on decent time. So me and Ez have picked up a few headlines that have been rattling on this week. Do you want to reel the first one off, pal?
Yeah, well, today, the big bombshell from Turkey Al Sheikh. I don't think anyone really was expecting this fight to be announced. I think a lot of people was expecting if any fight was going to be announced with David Benavidez, it would be the Callum Smith fight, because I know for a fact that there was in talks, that there was contracts sent, there was negotiations happening. And today, big bombshell, this comes out. David Benavidez versus Anthony Yarde in November. I think it's a brilliant fight. I would have rather seen the Callum Smith fight. I would. I'd love to know why they didn't take that fight. I am hearing a few bits which I'll say in a minute after you give your opinion on it. But I like the fight. I like this fight. I think Anthony Yarde yet again, and it's good but annoying at the same time. Domestic fight, world level. Domestic fight, world level. Domestic fight, world level. Again, and twice he's done it, and the 2 times he's gone world level, he's been stopped. Yes, the performances he's put up in those particular losses, fantastic. You can't fault him. You can't fault his heart. You can't fault his effort. But it's proven twice that you can't jump those levels. You can't skip from just domestic straight to world.
I'm a big fan of Anthony Yarde.
I really am.
I fully agree with what you're saying. Obviously, at the times he stepped up, and again, other than the Lyndon Arthur split, losing to Sergei Kovalev in Russia, I think, if I'm right with that. Beterbiev, who is joint right up there with one of the best fighters in the world. Obviously, he's just come off a fight.
Former undisputed. Yeah. He became undisputed after he beat Anthony Yarde.
So he's got nothing. There's no qualms about them losses. It's just in his last performances, he hasn't impressed me that much yet. I think we said this before, the Eubank Ben card, because he boxed Arthur on that, didn't he? He boxed that Ralph Vilkins, and I think he put him down in first round, second round, and then just plateaued all the way through. He wasn't impressive. We like to see Yarde a bit of show going. We like to see the power coming in.
He tried to knock him out. That fight you talk when he dropped in the second round, he tried to knock him out with every shot after that. And sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you've got to let off the gas and let somebody feel a little bit comfortable to let themselves open up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he didn't do that. The Lyndon Arthur one, I wasn't impressed. Lyndon Arthur, for me, sort of lost himself that fight. Weirdly, because he was boxing fantastically in that fight, and he just stopped. I don't know whether his gas tank sort of emptied, but he stopped. But this fight, I think Anthony Yarde.
I think it's a bad fight for Anthony Yarde.
Yes, again, is going to get stopped, because one thing is certain and two things for sure. David Benavidez's gas tank and work rate is ridiculous. And as hard as Anthony Yarde can punch, I would say he hasn't stopped his last two opponents, who has been stopped before. He dropped one of them in the second round, couldn't get him out in the next 8 rounds. Lyndon Arthur, who we know isn't world level. We've seen him at world level. We know he isn't that. as good as a fighter he is, a great British European level fighter, great European level fighter, I'd say, Lyndon Arthur. But world level, he isn't. We know Anthony Yarde has problems with his gas tank. We saw it against Kovalev.
I think he has problems with his motivation as well. I feel like he's not as driven as he was. I mean, that may be like a silly opinion to some people, but the fire he used to have in him, Anthony Yarde, the fire the corner used to bring, we used to get really excited seeing the build up to it.
Yeah.
Tunde and that, I don't know his name, but that big giant pad man he has who leathers him around head and stuff. There's always a bit of fire and play with him. I feel like we've lost that from Anthony Yarde, and I feel like it's because he's gone stale. I think we'd have all wanted to see Callum Smith versus Yarde, and that fight seemed line up, seeing as Yarde beat Lyndon, Callum beat Boatsi. I mean, we always wanted to see Yarde versus Boatsi, but obviously that's just not come to it. I am a massive fan of Callum Smith. I always have been. I think he's one of the best fighters Britain's ever produced. David Benavidez stops Callum Smith emphatically. I don't think Yarde is anywhere near the level of Callum Smith. So I am going to say quite an early stoppage. I'd go rounds 4 or 5, to be honest. I just think he's called the Mexican Monster for one reason, and he is an absolute beast in there.
He is a monster.
I mean, the names on his record, we just spoke of a few then, obviously, who Yarde's been in with, but these are all wins. Just his last few fights, okay, David Lemieux, Caleb Plant, Demetrius Andrade, Alexander Gvozdyk, I mean, David Morrell, like, it's absolutely mental, the caliber of fighters he's going in against. I hope, I'm a big Anthony Yarde fan, I hope his pay packet's massive, because he's going to get bullied from pillar to post as soon as that bell goes, and I really do think that, and it's a shame. I do think it's a shame. I'd be very shocked if it came out differently, Bet.
Yeah, I would say, speaking to Rico about it, Rico feels like Anthony Yarde's going to shock the world. I like Anthony Yarde. I'm an Anthony Yarde fan. I was always a Boatsi over Yarde. I always felt Boatsi had that pedigree. Boatsi had fought the better fighters, especially going through the British ranks rather than just having non-descript opponents, international opponents. But I've always respected Yarde. In his fights, I like his fighting style. He's all action. He's entertaining, like you said. But I feel like this is yet again just too big a step. I feel like a Boatsi versus Yarde right now would be perfect, because Yarde coming off the win against Lyndon, it wasn't a great win. It wasn't a great performance. Boatsi coming off the loss to Callum Smith, it wasn't a great performance, but you saw in there what he could do, or I certainly saw what he could do better, what he was lacking.
It was a good fight, wasn't it? That's it.
It was a great fight. It was one of those fights that you cannot throw the loser away. It was one of those fights I want to see him back in there. And I felt like this was the perfect time to have that JB versus AY fight. But they've chose the bigger part, the bigger money fight, clearly. He will be getting paid well for this. We know that Tunde himself, don't let Anthony Yarde get in that ring with anybody unless that number is numbering. So that being said, I expect a David Benavidez win, and I expect a David Benavidez emphatic stoppage. 5-6 rounds. But I will say about the Callum Smith thing, like I said earlier, I was going to say, Eddie said something like, "Oh, Callum really wants to be a world champion," and so on and so forth. The IBF has mandated Bivol to fight Eifert. So basically, Bivol is going to drop the IBF belt. I feel like Bivol right now, I feel like all those belts are going to go vacant. I feel Callum Smith is going to get elevated. Eifert is going to get elevated. And who's the WBA? I think Benavidez might be the WBA. It might be they might not be a WBA now, because I've known David Benavidez was the interim WBA champion. He's got elevated to the WBC champion because Bivol got stripped. So if Bivol drops that WBA belt, Benavidez might become unified champion. I don't know, but we don't know what we do. WBA just does mad things. But what I'm saying all that to say that Callum Smith may be waiting to get elevated to the WBO champion.
I hope so. I'm a massive Callum Smith fan.
And get a unification fight against the winner of AY versus Benavidez for bigger money.
Just drop on that last comment, Ez, just while we've got him on.
Sorry, 1 second. Chavez Jr.
El Pinche. Hello, mate. Chavez Jr. eyes. Is that coming off the result of what you thought?
No. Have you not seen this?
No, I didn't see that. Right, okay.
Chavez Jr.
Okay.
It wasn't on the slate, but I saw the comment, so I was trying to do my bit in the background to get that photo, and I managed to get it. So
well done, good man.
So yeah, Chavez Jr. We'll go on to that. Chavez Jr. being deported, being extradited from America back to Mexico for gang-related. What is it? Mafia-related. I don't understand how this has happened though, because this guy fought last week. How did they allow him to fight, and they knew he was there and they could? Do
you know what the worst thing is about that is that they've obviously known and let that happen, let the fight go. He's fought like a toffee in a contract to get the big paycheck, and they'll have froze all his assets. He won't have a penny to his name.
I wonder if you win, we'll let you stay. If you lose, you're going.
I bet they've taken every penny off the poor bastard as well.
Well, I just thought I saw the comment, and I like to respond to the comments and people getting involved. So I did my homework. So I'll finish it. What do you make of this Chavez Jr. thing? What do you make of it? Because I don't know. I'm shocked. It's just one of those things that, it's boxing. It's boxing. There's another thing I wanted to touch on. AJ has been cited, been interviewed, been quoted. Do you want to read what he's been quoted as saying?
Yeah, so AJ on Ring Magazine, I took my time out to ensure I come back fully active, fully ready to go, and to take the division by storm. I'll take whatever fights are needed. Every fight is a big fight. I think that's a good statement for him. As silly as that sounds, obviously he's been fairly quiet for AJ, hasn't he? If he doesn't say something that's like pre-recorded and sounds like a robot, he says something pretty outrageous sometimes. So fair play to him for that. I do hope it's true. A boyhood AJ fan watching him go through the ranks. He's taken the hits with publicity, and then he gets discredited for not engaging or being sort of frightened to come forward. But listen, he's been in there with the best fighters in the world. With the news, which we're going to go into, of obviously Tyson Fury coming out of retirement for the 911th time.
Is that it?
This is it.
I'm sure there was more. I'm sure it's more than that. I'm positive it's more than that.
You see, this is what we're just about to get to, Trey, is that Tyson's obviously, they're aiming for the trilogy with Usyk, which I don't think anyone wants to see whatsoever. I certainly don't.
No, we'll wait, because I've got a rant for that. I have a rant for this. But go on.
We don't want to see Fury Usyk again. Wilder making a comeback. We certainly don't want to see Fury Wilder again. Surely the only fight there is the Fury fight, and it's a massive fight. And you don't tell me a Brit that doesn't want to see that, really. It can't be possible.
There's nobody in the world that doesn't want to see AJ versus Fury. Everybody wants to see. I think the statement from AJ is exactly what he needed to say. He's ready to come back. He's ready to. The problem with AJ is the guy's what, 36? Right? 36, 37? Yeah, 36, I think he is. And people's like, AJ's got one fight left. He's got this fight left. Listen, Chisora's 45 or nearly 50 years old. These guys can go on and carry on fighting. We as fans need to stop telling fighters they have 1 or 2 fights left because they're not at world level no more. We was talking about earlier about the likes of Chisora coming back down to British level, then bouncing back up. The likes of Dillian White doing it as well. You've got fighters who do that. Sometimes a fighter needs to rebuild and they're no longer, because there's new fighters coming up. There's new fighters every day. There's new fighters. Leo Tang, Pat Brown. You've got new fighters there coming up. So you can't beat them all. You're not going to beat them all. There's what heavyweight is undefeated about Usyk. Look how long it's took for that to happen.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Usyk has to fight Daniel Dubois. I believe he beats Daniel Dubois, but Daniel Dubois can go in there and beat him. These heavyweight,
absolutely.
We need to stop telling fighters to retire because they can't beat one man or 2 men in a heavyweight division with a top 15, with a heavyweight division that's got 30, 40 fighters through British level to world level. You can fight. Yeah. But you cannot beat everybody. It's hard to beat everybody. You can try. It's hard to beat everybody. But as fans, as boxing fans, we need to, if fighters are wanting to carry on fighting, we need to encourage that and watch the matchups. Just pray for the matchups happening.
Here's how I've got it so far is that I think Usyk beats Dubois, but like you just said, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Dubois goes in there and actually sparks Usyk out. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest for how big he punches. Usyk will have to relinquish some of these titles at some point. It isn't physically possible for anybody to keep them belts and keep every governing body happy.
Well, look what just happened to Bivol. Bivol had to give up his WBC one when he just won it. Then he's now having to give up his IBF one. Now he's given that up. What is the point in keeping the other 2? For me, once you are undisputed, the belts
should go.
If you defend undisputed, you should relinquish all the belts barring the Ring Magazine belt.
Yeah.
For me. Because the division needs to carry on. We need to now see who is going to come up to challenge you. If you are staying in the game, you can every fight you have, you are going to be the lineal champion. Everybody knows you are the undisputed champion until you either retire or someone beats you. You are the guy in the division. You don't need all those belts anymore. But the rest of the guys who are building up, we need that for them. We need them we need to build them up to be right. You're at that level now. You're at that level because people aren't going to. Have you lost me? Am I back?
No, you're back. Yeah.
The fighters aren't going to, and it sounds weird, they're not going to risk a lot of fights without titles on the line. A fighter wants to know there is something to gain. And if Usyk has all those belts, like a Joseph Parker, now his next fight is not going to be for a title where he deserves a title shot. That guy deserves a title shot, and now he's going to risk gaining a title shot by fighting because he wants to fight, and that's a risk you take. And if he loses, he's now back down to the bottom. It's snakes and ladders with boxing, and fighters, when they're climbing that ladder, they want prizes as they're climbing the ladder. They need something on the line. They need something to work towards.
And this is what the point that I was just going to get there is when the relinquish happens, whoever the winner of Dubois Usyk will be, you'd imagine some of the belts are going to escape there. We need to see Parker getting his shot. I believe the wild card who's in the top 5 is Caballero, and I do believe he will be a world champion in his next few fights. He's got to be. Other than that, everything else is up for grabs. I believe Parker gets his title again, and Caballero I don't think there's a name up there who else you could say will be the world champion, will be the next one.
No, but
There's a load of big names to chuck in.
But that's perfect because you've got a Caballero. If a Caballero gets a belt, if a Joseph Parker gets a belt, those are two fighters you know for a fact that will fight the guys coming up. They will fight. Your Fabio Wardleys, he can have a fight with Parker or Caballero. The guys who are coming up are going to get chances instead of one guy who is so far above everybody else. He can only fight one guy at a time. And the one guy he's going to fight is going to be the biggest names in the division. And unfortunately, sometimes the biggest names in the division aren't the best names in the division. They aren't the best fighters, and you know what I mean. Because Parker, yeah, to say he's a big name, he's not a bigger name than Fury. He ain't a bigger name than AJ. He's not a bigger name than Wilder, and he's beat Wilder. He's just not a bigger name. Those, you know, those nice, sexy names where like everybody's, oh, this guy's fighting this guy. Joseph Parker's a brilliant fighter, but nobody's screaming that, oh, Joseph Parker's fighting, let's go out and watch it. But
I think the best fight of heavyweights up there right now would be Parker Caballero for a title. I think that's an absolute fucking barnstormer of a fight.
I love that fight.
I'd love to see Wardley get put in there now. Again, we've just seen him get absolute thrashed for 10 rounds.
Even Justisuni's up there now. He's definitely shown his ability that he is at that fringe world level, if not world level stage, because for 10 rounds, he boxed fantastically. He got cut into the heavyweight division. It happens, but I don't think he should be penalized as in positioning and what sort of fights he can get now just by getting caught with one big punch after 10 rounds, proving this is boxing. You need to prove you can box. And that guy proved he can box for 10 rounds. Yeah. He certainly proved that. So I don't think he should be thrown away. I think he can be put in there in a tough fight again. Because I believe he has the skill set to win.
Other than Wardley, my wild card for the top boys, or fringe top boys, if you like, if he gets fit and he stays active, Martin Bakole, because he is an absolute monster. I
am still not sold on him. I've never been sold on Martin Bakole. I wasn't even sold on him when he beat Jared Anderson. I said at the time when he beat Jared Anderson, everybody was hyping him. Now he could beat everybody. He beats this person. I was like, I don't know, because Jared Anderson for 3 years of his career has done the same thing and he's been warned so many times. If you keep pulling back with your head in the air and your chin out there, you're going to get caught. And he's been caught so many times. Unfortunately, he got caught by a big Congolese guy.
But Trey's just put on there, my Congo brother. Yeah, so that was a bit. I just saw that in there.
Good time in that. But you know what I mean? I just. For me, I've never been a massive Bakole fan. I've never been one of those that's like, yeah, he's gonna be the next guy. He's gonna be. For me, Moses Atoma, as you know, he Moses Atoma, he like I say, he's got a tough fight coming up. Dillian White. So we'll see what he does there. Right. So the last topic, we've only got a few minutes, but we can go over. We're good enough. The last topic, something that nobody wants at all. I think this trilogy is worse than Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor trilogy. This is how useless I think this trilogy is. I think this trilogy is more useless than Tyson Fury versus Chisora trilogy. I think this trilogy is more useless than Tyson Fury versus Wilder. Why does this guy get useless trilogies? He always gets pointless trilogies. Why is he allowed them? Why is he allowed to have pointless trilogies?
I think with Turkey El-Sheikh being in the driving wheel, and you know, hats off to him. He's probably made some of the biggest fights that we was never going to see. Money talks, doesn't it? But I don't think Fury would have come out of retirement for anything less. I really, really don't. if this doesn't come off, it will only be the Anthony Joshua fight. He's not daft, is he, Fury? He only comes out for the mega bucks.
Listen,
And
Fury's done this to piss people off, and it's worked. It's worked. It's not fucking Usyk is after. He's coming back for the AJ fight at the end of the year. I'm positive of it. This is why they're saying April or whatever it is they're saying here. What is it? April 20. So he ain't gonna have this long off and then come back to Usyk. What's gonna happen is the AJ fight, and listen. This guy, the first fight, he got saved from getting stopped by the referee. He still cried. He won. He somehow won that fight. I don't know how he won or whatever. He won the first 9 out of 7 rounds, apparently. In the first fight. In the second fight, you convincingly lost. Like even the AI judges, they tried to put in there. They tried to put a fourth AI judge to help you win, and it went against you. Like, I don't get why he needs a trilogy. Now he needs a trilogy in England to get a fair shake. Bro, I swear to God, just stay retired if you're not going to fight AJ. If you're going to come back and fight AJ, talk about the AJ fight. I don't want to hear about no trilogy. I don't want to hear about, I want to fight Usyk, I want to fight big names. Mention AJ. Talk about AJ. This guy is the only guy that doesn't want to talk about AJ. It's weird.
If there was a I don't know, say there's a pull-out Usyk Dubois next month. Is it next month? This month? This month. What would you say right now to Dubois Fury? Your mic's on us. Trey, you're there listening up. If Usyk wasn't to box Dubois this next time, would you have Dubois to beat Fury as well? Or would you think Fury's too wily and would get Dubois? I think that's a good question to ask at this moment in time. I got asked this today on text. I think the power may be just too much for Fury and a bit of inactivity on it as well. But you don't know, and like as it's just said, that's the exciting part of, I suppose, heavyweight boxing at the minute, because it is just all going off. But yeah, the money, it's just the money for him to keep coming out. I don't think anybody wants to see it. Trey, like your last comment there, it's 2-0 to Usyk. What else can happen? What have we got there? I can't load him up, mate. But so you think Triple D? You think that Dubois beats Fury as well? That's and that's how I've got it as well. I think he's in his prime. He's obviously learnt from the losses he's had, the ring experience that he's gained in boxing Usyk, in everything else on the coming up. Round best form. Yeah, exactly. That's what I think as well. He's hungry for it as well. At this stage, I think you've got to say that Fury's money fighting now, like Wilder in his career. So I think the hunger, the youth, the prime, and the power, too much for Fury. Absolutely. And ring activity works against Fury. Yeah, exactly. I wanted to chuck that question in there, so I wondered what people would think about that. As me and Trey saying that Dubois would beat Fury at this moment in time.
Yeah, I thought the way I saw Usyk hurt Fury, if Dubois lands, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. That kid can punch, because what I saw him do to AJ, if that kid lands, it's going to be devastated. I don't know. The thing is with Fury, it's kind of annoying because he's only lost to Usyk, so there's only so much you can say he's done. You know what I mean? Usyk has beaten everybody, so I don't want to be here saying, "Oh, Fury's crap" or whatever. He's not. But I need to see the fight, what everybody wants to see, and it is long overdue. I need to see the AJ fight coming off of the Usyk losses. At the end of the day, what another Usyk fight does what for the boxing community? What does it do for the boxing community? He somehow beats Usyk the third time. What happens? There's no need when when there's been a rematch and it's 2-0, I don't see the need for a third fight. There's no need for a third fight unless you build yourself back up, fight somebody else to gain that shot at the third fight. You're not fighting. You've retired after that fight. You've come back. You say you're coming back and you want a third fight. You don't deserve a third fight. You don't deserve it. You've not done anything. You've not beaten any contenders. You've not gone through the gauntlet. Even when you retired for the 500th time after Klitschko. After Klitschko, you came back, you fought 2 undescript fighters, and then you get a shot at the world title. Right? The treatment Fury's had in boxing is mental. He's being allowed to do whatever he wants, and it's been too much. It's been too much. He needs to, if he wants a trilogy with Usyk, for me, he needs to fight at least a contender to get there, or beat a couple of people to get there. You shouldn't be going straight into a trilogy coming off it. It's like the Manny Pacquiao thing all over again. You can just retire and come back to a world title shot, apparently. It's crazy.
Crazy. We've gone over.
That's my rant over, and perfect time to stop. Thanks for everyone tuning in on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Trey, as usual, Libster, Brian, Mandy, and Al Pinchy. A new one. Thank you all for tuning in, getting involved in the chat. Thank you everyone that tuned in and still watching now. We'll be back on Tuesday with the review of this weekend's fights and any more boxing news we can find. Hopefully we can get Brian and his son on after that Commonwealth win. A good luck to Casey Ducey as well, who we've interviewed. She makes a debut on that same card. And all I can say is, CJ, enjoy yourself in the away corner, and hopefully you lose against Connor and Kelsey.
Yeah, hopefully, mate. Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. See you next week.
Another band, all the Muslim cars now, whichever get up. Light up my scars with a sweet one bliss. Someone flicks me a bag it up. Say, it's another one, yeah, it's a full strand, yeah. It's another one, yeah.